Hello, everyone. This is Just a Dad, and you're listening to Coffee with Dad podcast. Hello, everyone. This is Just a Dad. So we got a lot to unpack today. So I'm going to brew my cup of coffee here first. And what I'm going to be brewing is my very own coffee. Today's podcast is brought to you by Just a Dad Simple Sip Coffee. You can find it on my website, justadadapprove.com. All right. So unfortunately, today we've got some sad news. iRobot Roomba did declare bankruptcy. It's kind of I wasn't super surprised, but the CEO did say they were going to kind of run out of money towards the end of the year, and apparently that's exactly what happened. So I'm going to kind of unpack what happened. We're talking about the iconic Roomba, the company behind iRobot. It seems they hit a major speed bump. A speed bump is an understatement. They filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy. It's wild to think the company that started the whole robot vacuum craze is in this spot. That's exactly what we're up against right now. They are the Kleenex. I've always said it. When somebody thinks of a robot vacuum cleaner, they say Roomba. And they've declared Chapter 11 bankruptcy. But what does this exactly mean? It really makes you wonder how a company with such a popular product got here. So grab your coffee, which I'm brewing right now, and sit back, and we're going to break down what happened. Why this Chinese company called, and I can't pronounce it very well at all, Pycia Robotics is involved, and what it might mean for your future robot and purchases. The rise and fall of iRobot. Okay, so let's start with the bankruptcy story. iRobot has been around since 1990. That's when I graduated high school. But the Roomba launched in 2002. Okay, so that makes sense. So the robot vacuum cleaner that we're kind of all started to learn about was launched in 2002 and changed the game. Everyone wanted one of these things driving around their room. They basically created the market, right? But the last few years have not been kind to them. They've been struggling financially for a while. The competition got fierce. Everyone was making robots. Many of them were cheaper and frankly better. And I have to agree with that. I did read an article where somebody was saying that the failure of Roomba was because these cheap Chinese companies making cheap Chinese robots. Well, they're cheaper, but I don't necessarily agree with that these robots were actually cheaper. You know, they were actually better robots just at a better price. They were better at mopping, better at navigating. iRobot just couldn't keep up with the features and the price war. I do agree with that. And then there was the Amazon deal. Okay. Amazon did try to buy iRobot for $1.7 billion. But the regulators in Europe said no way, citing competition concerns. And when that deal fell through, it was a massive blow. I agree with that. I was super excited for iRobot Roomba to be bought by Amazon. I thought that was just going to be great. I was so excited for what Amazon was going to bring to the brand. With a bunch of money like that, I thought they were going to just innovate and the robots were going to be just these crazy things now. But something happened and it didn't go through. And I do think that's kind of the catalyst for what started this. Again, I'm not a business major, but it seems like everything started to go down after that. Now, enter Pycia Robotics. So on December 14th, December 14th, 2025, iRobot files for Chapter 11 bankruptcy. This isn't necessarily the end of the company, but a way to resurrect things. And who steps in to save today? That a company that we've probably not heard of. Again, I've never heard of this, but they're apparently a really big company in China, and they've been making the robots for Roomba for a while now. They aren't just some random company. They're actually a massive player in the background. They are an original design manufacturer, an ODM. That's a word I just learned today, meaning they build the guts for other big names in the industry. Get this, they've produced over 20 million robot vacuums to date. I had no idea about that. That's huge. And they were already iRobot's main manufacturer and a secured lender. So they know the product inside and out. The plan is for Pycia to acquire 100% of iRobot's equity. again, I think they had some loans, and Pycia bought the loans, and so they basically own the company now. iRobot's current stock will get wiped out. Again, I'm not a business major. I don't know necessarily about. I know iRobot was a publicly traded company, and I guess now those stocks are not worth anything, and it's going to be a private company now or something. But it's going to be operating. The goal is to stabilize the brand, inject some cash, and hopefully bring the Roomba back up to speed with the competition. That's going to be a tall order, because the companies like Dreame, Roborock, and MOVA, and Eufy, and Narwhal, these companies are making very advanced robot vacuum cleaners. Now, what does this mean for you and the future? So the big question, what does this mean for Roomba, for your Roomba that you have at home, or the one that you were planning to buy? In short term, probably not much. The company will continue operating through the Chapter 11 process. The brand isn't disappearing. The big change might come in a few years down the line. When Pycia, taking over, they bring manufacturing and supply chain expertise. They're also got some pretty advanced tech in other areas, like precision parts for industrial robots. They make harmonics drives. Again, I'm just reading. I kind of put a news article together. That's what I'm kind of reading really quick. Now, this market has gotten very crowded, but the Roomba name still means something to the people, and I can vouch for that. When I tell people what I do, I review robot vacuum cleaners for a living. The first words out of people's mouth is, you review Roombas? And I think they're a little shocked by that, because most people's experience with Roombas is not a good one. The early Roombas were good. They kind of bounced off the walls. They didn't have a lot of navigation issues. So while it was a neat feature, it lacked a lot of things. But what I tell people is, the Roombas that you know are not the Roombas that they're making nowadays. And I use the word Roomba. I say that's just like the Kleenex name. There's other companies that you've probably never heard of, like Dreame, MOVA, Eufy, Narwhal, Ecovacs. These companies are making very, very good robots. Okay, so I got my coffee's done. It smells really good. It's like a medium to dark roast. Again, just a dad simple. I make my very own coffee. It made sense when I reviewed coffee makers. It doesn't make a lot of sense now that I'm reviewing robot vacuum cleaners, but now it's really hot right now. I'm going to have to let that cool. But okay. I did a YouTube video yesterday, and it's gotten a lot of views. You know, this is just a really sad day. I was really rooting for him again. I wanted that Amazon deal to go through, because I knew that would be, it seems like Amazon can really do a lot of good things with some stuff. So, you know, with their Alexa devices and all that. So I was just super excited for them to buy it, but it just didn't go through. And their latest models were okay. They just lack so many features that some of these newer robots are coming around with. They do say their cloud services are going to stay up. And if I had a piece of advice for Roomba, it would be just, you've got to stop making some of the older robots that are just high levels of frustration. There's a Roomba called the Essentials. There's an i5. There's a J, you know, those older robots that take the old app. Most of them, I know there might be a couple out there that people really like the square ones. I just really never tried those. But the round ones, the eyes, and the Essentials and those things, in my opinion, that really damages the brand. And I would stop making them and kind of concentrate on what you're already making, which is the 105 and the 405. While those aren't the best robots, at least they took away a lot of the frustrations that we saw with their older models. So because of LiDAR navigation, and they updated the app. And if Shark's listening, they have LiDAR navigation. They just need to upgrade their app. Their app is getting a little long in the tooth, and just, you know, not a lot of features in that. And it can be a little lagging in that sometimes. So again, still too hot. So I've got a lot to unpack. You know, that iRobot story was just, you know, again, wasn't shocked, but, you know, I'm very saddened by it. I'm hopeful for the future. Again, I have no idea what it's going to mean. But apparently parts and everything are still going to be made. You're going to still be able to use your robot. Again, not sure. But okay, we've got some. Let's recap Black Friday. Wow, it is December. It's December 16th. Now I do have to make a statement here. Just a disclaimer before we dive in. These links. So there may be links that I show you in my video. There may be links in the description and on my website, justadadapproved.com. Our affiliate links, which help support the channel. Also, if I show you any Amazon prices or sales numbers I mention are accurate as of today's recording, but they are subject to change. So we know sale prices on Amazon just fluctuate all the time. And we're gonna talk about how many robots were sold. On the Amazon storefront page, you see how many, it's public information, how many robots were purchased, you know, a certain particular model or whatever. So I'm going to talk about some of those numbers I've seen. But just so Black Friday, the prices were absolutely out of this world. I couldn't believe the MOVA P10 Pro November 20th went down to $399. Now, as of today, it's still $399. I absolutely love that robot for the features and that price. It's just a really good robot, and I've really been recommending it a lot. And I've got, so here's the catch-22. I've recommended it, and a lot of people, my friends and that I go to church with, they're starting to ask me what's a good robot, and I have, you know, I recommend that one. So now people I know, people that are living close to me, are starting to get this robot, and you know, I'm asking them setup. I'm very glad I got a setup video on that, because I kind of forget when you first get one of these robots, it's very intimidating. And after talking to some people, I forget how, man, when you have never seen one of these before, it's daunting. But I do have a setup video on that. Hopefully, I've been sharing that setup video with the people that have purchased these products, the MOVA P10 Pro, and I hope that's been helping them through. But if something starts to go wrong with that, they are definitely going to be calling me saying, hey, what's going on? So thankfully, everything so far with the people that I know that I've been recommending that robot to, it's been going good. So with that being said, if you purchased one of these robots, unbox it. I know it's busy. Unbox it, take an hour. It's going to save you so much time in the long run. Unbox it, start using it, and put it through the test. Like, I would have it clean my house 2 or 3 times, especially when you first get a robot, have it clean your house 2 or 3 times. It's going to you need that initial cleaning to help just get your house clean. After that, it's easier to maintain a clean house than to clean it each time. But it's also going to put the robot through some testing and keep your box. And so you've got this return window that's till January 31st. Again, I recommend purchasing these products off of Amazon or Walmart. Their return policies are just a lot easier to deal with. And if you've ever been to a UPS store, whatever they call those, where you redo your returns at, on January 31st, we had to wait out there was a line going out the door. So, but take advantage of that right now. So if you bought it, I know it may be a present, it may be under the tree. You know, sometimes people just buy them because they're just such good deals. And this is the best time to buy a robot vacuum cleaner because of this extended return time and the price. So if you are able to open it, start using it and just put it on a schedule where it's working 2 or 3 times a week. It's going to kind of get into some trouble. It's going to, you know, you'll have to put a no-go zone here or change the carpet setting a little bit. But you're going to know right away if this robot is broke or if it's not working at your house. Houses with different floor materials, there are some houses they're just, robots aren't going to work very well. You're going to have a certain type of carpet that the sensors just don't necessarily agree with or something, and you're going to know right away, is it something I'm doing? And typically if the MOVA P10 Pro, which is kind of a entry level, it's got a mid-tier robot, if it's not working, probably a more expensive robot's probably not going to do much better. I mean, they can avoid things better. But as far as sensing carpet and sensing edges and different things, if it's going to work, if it's not going to work, there's probably not many robots that aren't going to work. So So I'm looking at my price sheet right now. The MOVA P10 Pro was $399. The Roborock Edge S5A was $549. And what's really interesting is we're starting to see price wars. I don't remember seeing this last year or maybe the year before. I mean, I've been doing this now for 2 years, and really these major sale events I'm really concentrating on because this is the time to get some of the best deals. So like MOVA lowered the price of the P50 down to $549. So you can sort of see that those robots are very similar. I did recommend the Edge S5A over the P50, but you can see how when things are the same price, that's where the competition comes in, because you're like, is this one better? Is that one better? They're the same price. Which one should I get? And that's where hopefully with my channel, with my reviews, and I do videos the day of these big sale events, and I'm also my website. You may not have time to watch a big, I don't try to make these videos super long around these events, but during these events, my website is just going to be the best place for trying to get the latest sales. My new website is going to be updated with all of the sales prices as they happen. So again, and then in fact, tomorrow I've got a web development team. We're doing the initial meeting. They're from St. Louis, and it's going to be the initial meeting. It's around the holidays right now. There's not going to be a lot happening because, I'll be taking next week off around Christmas. So this initial meeting, and then they're going to be doing it next month, with January. Hopefully by the end of January, there should be a new website, justadadapproved.com. It's still going to be the same domain, just a new website. Again, this website is going to be for you as the viewer, as the people that purchase, and something to come back to after you purchase this robot. Working on branding. My Just a Dad sticker seal of approval is going to mean something. It means something right now, but I'm going to lean on that more in the next year. When I'm going to, I'm in the middle of reviewing a bunch of handheld cordless vacuum cleaners for cars. It's a question I get a lot. So I'm like, well, I'm going to figure out what is the best cordless vacuum cleaner to use for your car. And after I review them, and I'm going to show you which one I think is the best, and then that'll get a Just a Dad sticker seal of approval. So I'm working on a little new logo design for the approval, Just a Dad approved. It's going to have the word approved in it. Like right now, you'll see my logo. It's on a lot of things, but there's actually going to be an actual approval, and there's going to be a process to this. And I want to be your go-to place for bringing common sense to reviews. I purchased these products with my own money. I'm not paid by these companies. It's just going to be my honest opinion. And you've seen, and I've told you, when a product doesn't, if it's a product that I paid $500 for and it's like, this thing doesn't work very well, I return it. That's money that is very well, it's hard-earned money that I'm not going to just buy something if I don't like it, if it's not doing a very good job, I'm going to return it. And that's kind of the philosophy I take with you. I don't want you to have to purchase a product and then you get it, you're like, oh, this thing's it's full of hassle, it's not working right, it doesn't clean. Then you should return it if that's the case. But hopefully with my stamp, my sticker seal of approval, it's going to be a product, it's going to have common sense. It's going to be easy to use. There's not going to be frustration. I don't know how to define this term, like this frustration level. I've noticed it. I first saw it with vacuum cleaners a little bit. First saw it with coffee makers just a little bit. But when robot vacuum cleaners came out, it became very apparent that, wow, some robots are just hard to use. And then it's like, well, I don't really care how well it cleans if I can't really use it. And if it's kind of a frustration to use, I'm like, I don't know, I'm not going to, it's got to get past that step. So I consider that very, very high on my list. And going in the future, I'm going to kind of come up with, I hate saying just levels of frustration. I got to come up with some kind of term. So if there's something you can think of, let me know in the comments. Now, the MOVA V50 went to $799 on November 20th, 2025. I think it's still at that price today. I'm not really sure, but wow, that was an amazing price. That was my number one robot as far as money could buy. Now, with the MOVA, here's a very common question. With the MOVA P10 Pro at $400 and the V50 at $800, does the V50 clean twice as good as the MOVA P10 Pro? It absolutely does not. But it does have some advanced features that the P10 Pro doesn't have. Like it can remove its mop pads, But the main thing is it has robotic feet that it can lift up over thresholds. So unless you really needed that threshold going into different rooms, I just recommended this $399 price point was just a great price point to get into. And again, the first thing I did come Black Friday was I have to write down all the sale prices. It takes me a while, and I put them in order, and it just became very, very apparent where the deals were. And let's just go now over some of the robot vacuum cleaners. I think we're just at the beginning of how many of these robots are actually going to start selling. I think this is the future. And the reason I say that is because I have at my house, we don't mop our floors anymore. Once in a while, we may grab a corded vacuum cleaner just to kind of make sure it's clean. But I do have 3 of them going at my house right now, so it is a little extra clean. But I do feel confident that even with one robot vacuum cleaner cleaning my home on a once or twice a week, I think it maintains my home very, very clean. So, and I'm not hassling with it. So these are actually products that are helping us. And that's going to be very key going here in 2025 is I'm going to be emphasizing, do you want to get 20 minutes? Do you want to get 30 minutes of time a couple days a week and a robot vacuum cleaner can definitely help you gain some time back in your busy schedule. So again, and this is the numbers I'm going to be reading off here. iRobot had huge success from their name. They have the Roomba 105, so 20,000 units as of December 16th for a 30-day period, according to Amazon, when they do on their thing where you can see how many units sold. That's incredible. Now, that robot, in my opinion, I think it had a really super cheap price point, like $150 or something, but it had LiDAR navigation. The app is okay. So at least the frustration level went down with that Roomba. It just wasn't a very good robot as far as cleaning. The Roborock S5V sold 10,000 units. Now, that's an extremely good robot because of its split brush dual roller design that helps with dog hair and long hair. So that was highly recommended by me. But the Edge S5A was like $50 more, and it was just a much, much better robot that had that same technology as the S5V. And they sold a ton of the Edges. Right now it says 5,000. I think I saw, I think they sold out of those again. It went back up to full price. I mean, the Edge S5A, again, it was at, what price was it? It's just so incredible. It's $549. I think it's up to over $1,000 or something now, but it's not a buy at that price. But there is one that's on sale right now that I'll tell you about here in a little bit. It's the Curve, not the original Curve, but there's one without the cameras. But the L40S, now they sold 6,000 of these units. That's the newer L40S Ultra. Yeah, that's the new L40S Ultra. I have that at my house. It's an extremely good robot. It wasn't high on my list just because the price point, I felt like the MOVA P10 Pro did just as good a job. That, again, there may be some, there's a lot, we're just in a time where there's a lot of robots that are good. And what I'm trying to do is, I may not talk about robots, some brand, or even some robots. Like I never talked about these L40Ss, these brand new ones, these L40Ss, not the original L40, which I'm not recommending right now, but the L40S, which is new. There's a CE and an AE. They're good robots. Their features are kind of all over the place, and they didn't really fit with what I was wanting for a robot, but they're still good robots. But their prices was just a little bit higher. And I'm like, well, they're just, it's really hard to, and what I find is a lot of people, I used to say these are the 10 robots that are best ones to buy. Well, they all have a little bit different features. And I found that if I could just narrow it down, and I narrowed it down to top 3, and even sometimes with the top 3, I was getting the question of, well, which one should I get? Well, and I might be doing something in the future where it's more of like the best under 300. Again, this is really, really hard to figure out, but I'm going to figure it out because I want to help you as the consumer get the best robot for the best price. Again, that's going to be my entire job coming next year. I'm going to be reviewing wet, dry floor mops, corded vacuum cleaners. Those are relatively simple compared to robot vacuum cleaners. but there's a whole bunch and more ones coming out. So the P10 Pro, they sold 10,000 units. Q10, 10,000. That's the Roborock Q10. There's an S5 and an X5. I'm not really recommending that one anymore. It was a decent robot in my testing. When I took it home, it struggled getting to the dock once in a while. You have to put that one, the dock has to be on hardwood floor. They don't want that one, the dock, to be on carpet. It kind of struggles. And I've been reading comments. Again, when I see about 10 comments about a certain issue, that usually mean that's a really big issue. And I saw some issues on wheels and not working. And I was just seeing some high traffic around the Q10 not working. And that's kind of a red flag to me. And I did see that when I brought that to my house. So the Q10, while on paper it's a great robot and I'm testing, it did really good. In real world, it did kind of struggle a little bit. And that's kind of why I went to the Dreame D20. Now, I've got that one at home. It's not on this list of how many that's sold. But again, my number one question I would get, and if robot manufacturers are listening, this is a very sought after robot, a robot that vacuums only. They don't want any kind of mopping on it. Now, I had to tell people it was the Dreame D20. And then I had to say this right after it. Now, it has a mop. It's not a very good mop. Just don't install it. So, and I think that's going to turn some people off because they're going to search for a robot vacuum cleaner that vacuums only. And they're going to see that, well, this vacuums and mops. I don't want that. But man, I got the Dreame D20 at my house right now. And it's doing really good. Again, this is a cheaper robot that just vacuums only. I don't have the mop pad installed on it. I don't fill the water tank up. This thing's a workhorse. I got it in my basement. My basements can be kind of challenging with a lot. I don't necessarily pick everything up in the basement. A lot of times there's blankets and rugs and stuff. And I'm like, well, I could pick these things up and make this a great environment. But I'm like, no, let's just see how it does. There's shoes over the place. This thing navigates around them. I really was kind of shocked because I really recommended that D20 very highly. And it performed very well at the studio. But in my testing, I'm never 100% positive. I have to bring these robots to my house and I have to put them on an aggressive schedule and I have to watch them. Am I picking it up? Am I having to go do it? And I've even been checking that dustbin because I do have one dog that sheds a lot. And I know there's been some complaints that the dustbin doesn't empty on some types of these robots, which is true on some. But on this one, I looked at the dustbin. It's been vacuuming my basement now for 3 weeks. And I just went and checked it, and it's got some dust on the filter, which is what we expect, but it's empty. It's been emptying itself. So that Dreame D20, and that thing went down under $300. There's 2 of them. I just told people, get the one. There is a really cool one that has the D20 Pro Plus that has the side brush that extends into the corner, which is pretty cool, but they want like $30 or $40 more for it. And I typically don't think if you're just wanting a robot that vacuums only, that's a little bit more that's kind of a lot more to pay just for a side brush that extends in the corner, but it works very well. So, the D20 it's just working very well at my house. Now they sold, the Eufy C20, in my opinion, is kind of meant for a smaller home. They sold 9,000 of those units. Wow. Now this one surprised me. The Roborock Saros 10R, very good robot. They sold 9,000 of them. Now, this has been kind of a sleeper, and I don't want to say I regret not recommending it more. It's a very good robot. I think it was on sale for $1,000. I had it in my house. You can see I've got video. I got real world testing on that. In the studio, performed very well. At my house, performed very well. It just seems like in robot language or time frames that robot, I don't know. I just felt like it was not really old, but it's just I don't know. Sometimes there's so many good robots that it's just really hard to narrow down which one is the best. And the Roborock Saros 10R, while that is an extremely good robot, it wasn't really high on my list of recommendations, but they did sell 9,000 of those units. It does go under furniture really low. The base station is really heavy for some reason. I'm not really sure. That's just kind of an odd thing I've found with that. And it doesn't have LiDAR navigation. It's got the sensors on the front and the back, which in my book, it acts just like it has LiDAR navigation. So I never really said much about that. The Eufy E25, they sold 7,000 of those. Again, it had a really good price point. I forget what the price point was. It just seemed like there was something going on with the Eufy E25 and E28. I did a bunch of testing. I did take them to my house. I had one fail, which I know that happens with all robots. I didn't necessarily hold that against it, but it did have that dirty water tank that leaked. They did send me a new dirty water tank, but I think they did do something with turning how much water it uses down really low, because when I empty that dirty water tank, it doesn't have as much dirty water as some of the other robots. So it just seems like there's something going on with that. I didn't really want to recommend that too much. I am excited about Eufy has an S1 or S2 coming, I think in January, and I'm going to be purchasing it. The 505, this was a Eufy, this was a Roomba 505. And they had the 405, which was, I consider the competitor to the MOVA P10 Pro, same price point. But the 405 just lacks so much. I mean, if you stack those two against each other, one has the Roomba name, which everybody knows, but it just doesn't have an internal water tank. It doesn't extend the mop pad or a side brush into the corners. And I had issues with it vacuuming, not emptying the dustbin. There was just too many things that, it just seemed off with it. And then the 505 is the upgrade to the 405 with better obstacle avoidance, and it extends the mop pad out to the side. Again, they sold 4,000. Again, it's just not a good robot in my opinion. It doesn't have a huge hassle factor, but then the next thing on my list is it has to clean, and just didn't do a very good job in my opinion. X10 Pro Omni. Now, they sold 4,000 of these units. The price did come down. We don't see the price point anywhere near what we used to. That price on the X10 Pro Omni is kind of gone up, and it really hasn't come down to levels we used to see. Now that I can actually say that robot's getting a little long in the tooth. It's kind of a tank, which is good and bad. It's got some durability to it. I'm getting some more coffee. Sorry. Just right now. But the X10 Pro Omni, they're still making it, still heavily advertised. And you'll see on my video like 2 years ago, I'm like, this is really great robot. Well, in today's terms, it's an okay robot. It doesn't have much of a hassle factor. It just doesn't have some features. It's got cold water mop washing, room temperature drying, side brushes, mop pads don't extend. They turned the camera off for some reason. So it used to have a camera where you could see the obstacles and things, but they did turn all of that off, which that was just a software update. So while that robot, in the single brush roller, I did have some trouble with long hair wrap on it. So there's just robots nowadays that are dealing with better cleaning up against the wall and better hair management. So the X10 Pro Omni, while it was really good a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, they're still trying to sell it a bunch. And again, you're going to get it, and at least it's not going to give you a hassle factor. For that price point it was at, there's just better robots in my opinion. The X11. Now the Ecovacs X11, I did buy it on Black Friday. I have it sitting over there. I haven't unboxed it yet. I am going to be unboxing it. I'm going to get that thing to my house right away. I want to see this hassle factor. I want to see how well it does. It was on sale. They sold 3,000 of those. The original L40, this is the one that was $399, which was the same price as the MOVA P10 Pro during Black Friday. The L40, in my opinion, is not a buy because turn the mop pad removal system on and off. In my opinion, that robot can remove its mop pads and leave them at the base station. And which I used to think that was a good thing, but I think that's a generation 1 that they were doing that with. So I think there's some issues with that because I've seen that with some other people, my sister included. She had one and the mop pads wouldn't install or reinstall. We did some things over the phone, and I think they got it figured out. I hope. They may just not be telling me. I don't know. I think they would tell me. But so with that being said, The MOVA P10 Pro, in my opinion, was just it doesn't have that feature, which for this price point, I don't really necessarily think we need that feature, because I think they've improved it. You know, the docks are different, unlike the MOVA V50 and the Dreame X50 and the Dreame L50 that actually remove their mop pads. The Roborock Saros 10R removes its mop pads. And I've never had a problem with those robots when they remove it and reinstall their mop pads. So that's the main reason why the L40 is, because it has that feature. And and for some reason that I did see on Amazon, when you look at it, sometimes Amazon will show you it's a high return item, and the Dreame L40 was a high return item. And I'm just merely guessing, but I think that might be from that mop pad system. The Curve S5X, that's the one that's on sale right now for like $650 or something. That's without the camera. They've sold 2,000 of those units. That's a really good robot. But that Edge S5A is the same robot, except the base looks different. Again, the Edge S5A says they sold 5,000, but I thought that number was higher a couple weeks ago. Now the X50 and the L50, they've sold 1,000. And those two, again, it came down to price for me. The X50, the L50, the MOVA V50, these robots are so similar. And it became a price war. And the MOVA V50 just had more stuff with it. And in my opinion, they're the same robot. So why not get the one that comes with more mop pads, dust bags, that's a little bit cheaper? And that's what, there was nothing wrong with the X50. There's nothing wrong with the L50. Great robots. It's just hard to say these three robots are the best. You know, I really do want to get you the best robot for the best price. And so that's why the MOVA V50 was my top choice in this area. That and the Curve X. They sold 10,000 of the Curve X. I think they might have sold out. I think I remember seeing that thing go out of stock or something. I'm just merely guessing because I was constantly checking. It's back up to full price now. It was down to $850, I think. Wow. That's a really good robot too. I did have a few little issues at my house with the top cover coming off, and it's so thin, it gets into trouble. It can go under so many things that we weren't used to. And sometimes finding that robot when it got stuck was a really challenge. It was under a dresser that I could hardly see. And so, yeah, there's again, best time to buy and around these major sale events. But the quantity of robots that were on sale did seem to be a lot more during Black Friday. I was absolutely amazed. Amazon just seems to be the best place. You can see all of them. There is Walmart. I was on Walmart's website. And if you've ever been to Walmart's store, I mean, I just went into our Walmart store a couple weeks ago, and it's just laughable. The robot vacuum cleaner section, it hasn't changed in literally 2 years. I mean, maybe a little bit, but the robots that they're offering, they're kind of off brands. There's some sharks in there. They're just not very good. I mean, I know there's logistics involved in all of that. And I don't know what all goes into what products go in a store. Those robots for the prices that they're offering in their store are just not very good. And that's why when you can go to Amazon and you can see all the robots in one place and you can do your comparison, you can see the price, and it's just the best place to go and get these robots, in my opinion, because of the quantity of robots that are on there. You can see the reviews, you can see, and the return policy is easy. It just seems to be the best place to go. Going in store, it just is so limited nowadays. I don't think the in-store sales with what's available can keep up with what we can find online. Okay, so what's at my house right now? This is turning out to be an extremely part of my program of taking robots that I review to my house. I have the Aqua 10 Ultra at my house. I sent the Aqua 10 back. I wasn't super impressed with the Aqua 10. The Ultra does seem better. It's quirky. But there's one thing that is undeniable. When I take I have all three of them side by side, and I'll be sharing some videos of these. But when I take the MOVA P10 Pro, I've got the Matrix 10, and I've got the Aqua 10 Ultra. When when I take these dirty water tanks to my sink and empty them out, the Aqua 10 with the mop roller, the water is dirtier than all the rest. So it does clean better. But there's some weird things going on with it. It is getting better. The first time there might have been some updates. I don't really necessarily keep up with the updates. I just have it on auto update. But it does seem like it's navigating my home better. There is a cover that goes over the mop roller. I think that's going to be an issue. I think it's very flimsy in my opinion. And when it's vacuuming carpet, it's covering the roller, which I guess is what you want. But it seems like sometimes I pick the robot up and that cover is not completely fully covering the roller. And so it's getting caught on things. Again, not all the time, just enough to where it's noticeable. I mean, there's no way around it. The Aqua 10 Ultra at my house, it's noticeably different. I'm having to pick it up more often and take it back to the dock. And it's just, there's one area where it gets stuck and there's nothing for it to get stuck on. And there's like a little bit of transition from carpet to hardwood floor. But it's like every time now, it's like there's this little area, it says wheels are stuck. And I'm like, there's nothing, it's up against a little outside corner, but it's not stuck. There's nothing around it. And I lift it up and the wheels spin free. So it's like, there's just something off. Again, Gen 1, I'm going to be bringing it back here to the studio and I'll give you the two, I think probably I'll maybe wait 2 months, give you the real world test results of it. And we'll go over and see how well it's cleaned and do all the maintenance on it. The Matrix 10 is at my house. I haven't had any problems with it. That thing's just a workhorse. No navigation issues, no getting stuck. So here's the thing, the catch-22. I love the bigger clean water tank and the bigger dirty water tank. But it seems like I'm filling that one up more often. I don't know I know it has a dirt detection sensor. But it seems to be really going through the water. So maybe I'm not sure what's going on there. I bought a second MOVA P10 Pro. I don't know how else to say this. I got nervous. I had the one at the studio that I used here. I took it to my house, the original MOVA P10 Pro. I took it to my house. It did great. And then it's now kind of the one here at the studio is more of a prop. It's in my videos. It's not really being used. And so I'm like, man, I'm really recommending this a lot. Is it good? I was kind of questioning, like, do I remember? Yeah, it is good. I remember. So I'm like, no, I just got to buy another one and I got to take it to my house and I got to just keep using it. This is a highly recommended robot from me. And I just want to keep making sure this thing is good. And it is good. I've got the second MOVA P10 Pro in my house. It's doing a great job. It does, I think it gets stuck once in a while. It's had a few little things. And these robots are constant with their carpet sensors. We've got to be very careful with there's always these little pop-ups that come that say, I detected a big batch of carpet. And then what I used to do in the past was I would exit out or I would just click on it. And I really wasn't paying attention to what I was doing because these things pop up all the time. And I'm like, I just want to use the robot. That little AI thing that pops up. I need a fresh pot of coffee. I just let it get cold. But yeah, so be careful with these pop-ups. They actually mean something and they can really change a lot. You may have to do a remapping event if you don't do some of these pop-ups. So that's the one thing I've noticed with the MOVA P10 Pro. It says, hey, I found a big piece of carpet. What do you want me to do with it? And click on it. Make sure it is in the right spot relatively. And then, the best thing I found is to accept it unless it's in an area where there is no carpet, which I did see that one time, which was a little strange. But, and then make sure your carpet settings are right. It will apply whatever your default carpet settings are to that. If it's a void, it'll avoid that piece of carpet. So be careful with the avoid carpet in your carpet settings. And I do have the Roborock Saros Z70 with the robotic arm. That dirty water tank is probably the least dirty of all of them. But again, it navigates, does home. It just doesn't pick up a whole lot. I really want to see that thing work. And sometimes I'm here at the studio, my wife's at home, and she's like, one funny story is she was painting some baseboard and she had a paper towel on the ground, and I guess the robot was doing a scheduled cleaning, and she was doing something else. She looks over, and then the Saros Z70 is picking up that paper towel and taking it away, and she had to grab it out of the robot's arm. So I think I miss a lot of the captures when I'm not home. So, okay. So somebody did tell me about the Dreame L40 Gen 2. I had no idea about this, but somebody told me in the comments, and I'm so thankful for that. And when somebody tells me this, I'm like, the first thing I do is I go look. And sure enough, it's available. I bought it. It's coming in a week or so. It's available right now. I don't know much about it. I haven't even looked at the specs. I just buy it, and then I kind of figure it out as I go. But that's, this whole series is super popular, the Dreame L40 series. Then there's a Roborock Curve 2. I don't know much about it. I'll be buying it as soon as it comes out. I don't know if it's available right now. This might be a CES thing. And that leads me on to, I am going to the Consumer Electronics Show in Las Vegas. Me and my wife are going for 2 days, the 6th and the 7th. I think we fly out on the 5th and come back on the 8th. I'm excited. This is my first time going. I don't know what to expect. I've been reaching out to Digital Dave. He's been a couple times. He's a super nice guy. I follow a lot of his reviews on technical stuff and stuff. So he's been kind of, I've been texting him back and forth. He's telling me what to do and what the ropes are. So I'm looking forward to that. I think a lot of walking, but I'm going to be concentrating on robot vacuum cleaners, Roborock, Narwhal, Dreame, MOVA, Eufy, Ecovacs. I'm going to be going to their booths, and I'm just going to be just videotaping what their latest innovations are. I mean, I think Dreame has a pretty big, Dreame and Roborock have pretty big events planned. I think I'm getting some emails like, we've got this event planned at the pavilion, whatever, such and such. So I've got to put my schedule together, but I do plan on attending these, and I'm going to videotape them and share as much as I can with you. And typically these robots do release relatively quick after CES. I think within 3 or 4 months, we usually do see these robots. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be exciting. And again, maybe I can do some live streams and just, you can see the stuff in live stream. I don't know what to expect. I picked a hotel. I think it's close, but it's like divided up into 2 different convention halls. And again, but wow. And am I excited about it? I'm just really, really excited about going there and showing you what the latest products are. And I may talk to these manufacturers and give them some suggestions and stuff. Not really sure. We need, what's your opinion on these robots that have the different mop pads that can change? The Matrix 10 and the Mobius 60, the MOVA. These robots, in my opinion, they're pretty cool. They work. Do we need different mop pads for different rooms? I might tell them, well, if the mop pads were actually really, really different, in my opinion, the mop pads weren't super different. So if you're going to go to the work of changing those mop pads to a different mop pad, at least make it different. But I know that's hard, and you don't want a mop pad that's going to damage flooring or whatever. So I don't necessarily know what goes on in that. Okay, so we're going to finish up here again. iRobot Roomba did declare Chapter 11 bankruptcy. Wow, that's just big news. I'm really rooting for that team in Massachusetts. I was hoping to visit that someday. When I was on a phone call with them, they said they have a robot vacuum cleaner. What do you call that? Like a museum, I think, or something. I was and I still may do that if I'm ever in Boston, swing by there. I think it's open to the public. I'm not sure, but that would be pretty cool to see. Maybe I take some videos of it and show everybody. So, again, yeah, there was, I know some people have still bought that Roomba 705, the combo unit, the one with the mop roller, the Roomba with the mop roller. I had to have 3 units until I got a good one. I do think they've got the bugs worked out, but that thing is kind of a tank. It's kind of big. It's kind of noisy. It's like whatever you're developing just needs to be now a little bit quieter and a little bit on a smaller scale because it is kind of a big unit. But yeah, I know a lot of people bought it and they're asking me if I should return it or not. I said, I don't necessarily know. I do think there are better robots. That price did go down to $850. I think I did see. Which was better. But yeah, in my opinion, that's just not a buy. There really wasn't a Roomba that was a buy for me, just because we can get some better robots that do have some more features and the features that I like with robots actually help get your house cleaner. I don't want features in robots that aren't going to help us, because a robot's job is to get your house clean. And so, and in fact, I've got some exciting news. I'm going to maybe do a video of what my perfect robot vacuum cleaner would be. I've got a whiteboard that I'm writing all of these features that I like, and I want a dirt detection sensor in the dirty water line going to the dirty water tank. But I want that I can set how many remopping events it does, and I can also, it's on a slider scale. How sensitive do I want that to be? So, yeah, just kind of some neat things that I would like. Again, these are things that I want that a robot would help clean your home. I do want bigger dirty water. I think the clean water tank can be a little bit bigger than the dirty water tank. I think inevitably robots use more clean water than they fill up the dirty water tank. So a lot of times they're the same size, and so you're kind of you're emptying one and filling one when one's not quite all there. So maybe make the clean water tank a little bit better. And solution, these solution tanks, they let us put solution in these tanks in the base stations, but they don't give us much control over it. I do think, we need more control over how much solution it adds, where it adds it. Does it just only add it to clean the mop pads? Does it fill the robot up with it? Different things like that. Like, give us how much it can use. I think, again, they probably know more than I do. They probably don't want to give certain things out because they know this will just cause problems, which I get that. Again, I don't necessarily know, but I am going to come up with a list of things that I would love to see in a robot. Again, these are things, the only things I'm going to recommend and the only things that I like in robots are things that help us with the user interface, which I think LiDAR navigation, and then features that help clean your home. Side brushes that extend into the corner, mop pads that extend up against the wall, internal water tanks, again, base stations that are just easy. Oh, Roborock has the base stations figured out as far as that tray. That I like that. I do think that needs to be, if I had a perfect robot, it would have the Roborock tray where you just pull the whole tray out, take it to the sink, get it all nice and clean, and slide it back in. I do like that. But I kind of get why MOVA and Dreame do what they do. I think you have to have more of a stable base station underneath the mop pads if you're going to be removing them and installing them. So I kind of get that. And I'm not necessarily, I think I do like the mop pads being installed and reinstalled. So I do want that feature. So again, I'm going to come up with what I think would be the best robot vacuum cleaner. So again, I do appreciate everybody's support. Got some exciting stuff coming in the new year. I do have what's it called? The DJI Romo. I do have the power supply, and I know a lot of people are curious, is that thing going to work? I have no idea. It takes 220 volts. I got to just sit down and do it. I should have sent the darn thing back. It's $2,000, and I just feel like it's not going to work. And you want some return on your investment, and I don't know that this robot will ever be available. So I'm going to do a YouTube video on it, but that's not necessarily, a YouTube video is not going to make enough money to repay that $2,000. So I really just felt like I got caught up in the process. I saw that, there was just a ton of videos on it. I thought, well, it's just going to be available. That it's for sale. And then I ended up buying it from a place that's not DJI. It's some other company that just imports their products. And so it just came right from Hong Kong. And I don't know if it's going to be region locked or anything. It's not going to be a readily available robot. It doesn't serve me a purpose when, I need to review the robots that are at Walmart, on Amazon, that are available and that I can recommend. And these are the robots that are going to help people. Cause that's the main reason behind what I do. I want to get you products that you're hopefully not going to have to return, that are going to be easy to use. And they just bring some common sense to cleaning. I don't count dust particles. I don't count grams. I've never necessarily looked for that when I, review, because sometimes something that, picks up the most stuff isn't the easiest to use. So again, that's kind of why I'm doing what I'm doing with the Just a Dad Approved. It's going to be kind of a common sense to product reviews. It's going to be an honest opinion. When I'm at my house, does this thing make me feel like my house is clean? I don't get, sometimes I am down on the floor and I do see around and, oh, wow, there is a lot of stuff on the floor. But most of the time, if you kind of know if your house is clean or not, especially with your floors, I've had this robot mopping our floors, and then sometimes I'll take a towel and I have to wipe up a mess and the floor's clean. It wasn't like there's a bunch of stuff that's on the floor. I wiped my mess up and then the mess is on my rag, but the floor was relatively clean. So you just, I think I want to get you products that just do a really good job. So again, check out my website, justadadapproved.com. Look for more podcasts coming again. I let my coffee get too cold, but again, this video today is brought to you by my very own coffee, Just a Dad Simple Sip Coffee. You can buy it on my website, justadadapproved.com again. And I might be developing more products. If there's something you think that needs developed for robot vacuum cleaners, I can't think of anything right now, but I do have a mind that likes to make things. Even though inventing is really, really hard, I have a lot of ideas I want to invent. But as we all know, thinking of the idea is the easy part. It's the implementation. So if there's anything you think of that maybe needs made for a robot, let me know. Again, and thanks everybody. I'm going to play a little commercial today. So thanks. So the best way to find the products that I approve of is my very own website, justadadapproved.com. Here I'm on my website right now. You can scroll down. It's going to show you the robots that I approve of. And if they're on sale, it has a link to where you can purchase it on Amazon. I am an affiliate with Amazon. If you click on that link, the product's not going to cost you anymore, but I do earn a small commission from the sale. And again, if you scroll down a little bit further, you can see my top picks. There's also a section at the top where if you don't want to miss a deal, whenever a robot vacuum cleaner or another product that I highly recommend goes on a huge discount, I do send out an email. So sign up from your email list. I don't send out a whole bunch of emails just when products that I highly approve of go on sale. And up here, there's also a section, gifts for dads, robot vacuum cleaners, robot care and upgrade. These are the parts that I upgrade my robots with, and also the parts that I use to clean my robots. I'm also going to be expanding this into the filters. Like if you have a very common robot, I'm going to have like dust bags and different things where you can purchase. Again, these are also going to be links to Amazon. If you click on them, it's going to take you right to the Amazon website where the product's not going to cost you anymore, but I do earn a small commission from the sale. And again, this is my very own website. I will be improving this quite a bit, and I'll have common questions and answers to common problems with robots. I've got wet, dry floor mops, coffee makers, and you can purchase my very own coffee, Just a Dad Simple Sip Coffee. Takes you to this website where you scroll down. It's available in the K-Cup form, whole bean, or already ground.